House would require all isolated religious communities to give all 18-year-olds a Rumspringa. Without further ado, I would like to offer the floor to the Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, Ronald Dworkin, one of the biggest legal theorists of our times, who unfortunately passed away 2 weeks ago, was talking about this idea of lottery of birth, right? He was talking about this in a sense of distributive justice, how it is inherently unjust for some people to have less fortune by the mere fact that they were born in another like social setting than another human being. We believe that this issue of lottery of birth applies just as well in this debate. We also believe that the issue of indoctrination, of isolation, of regimes such as North Korea is quite similar to what we are seeing in the case of these isolated communities. Effect on an individual who cannot get the information he needs to make a rational decision, to make a legitimate decision about his life. We believe that this lack of information is the same here as it is in North Korea. The problems we see in today's society are, as I have already explained, thank you, this idea of lottery of birth and lack of information, therefore lack of potential for legitimate decision making. The plan we have is quite simple. We don't think this is a plan-heavy debate. We don't think this debate should turn into plan bashing. We simply think that when an individual is 18 years old, he checks in the local community, and after he passes that here, he either goes back or not. We don't see a problem with that. We don't think, again, this is a plan-heavy debate. So what will we bring you today, substantially? We think that a fundamental question we are to ask here is, when do we have the right to limit communities' autonomy? And I will talk about 4 questions here. Is the goal we're trying to achieve legitimate? Secondly, does our policy achieve that goal? Thirdly, is that policy necessary in terms of, is there any softer measure by which we limit rights of the community to a lesser extent while still achieving the same goal? And fourthly, no, thank you, I haven't even started, sir. Is this policy, is the breach of rights proportional to the rights we're giving to individuals? And then my partner will talk about this individual psychological aspect. Now, right to the first question, is our goal legitimate? We feel that it is, because we think that this idea of lottery of birth is very commonplace. We believe that it is problematic. We believe that every human being should have the same right to make a decision about his life, no matter where he's born, be it in an isolated community, be it in North Korea, be it in the United States of America, be it in Germany, wherever. We believe that every single individual has that right, and we believe that the legitimacy of decisions one can make actually is is based on the information he has about the decision he's about to make. But more on that later. We believe essentially that the mere fact that those people have no information on how life is like outside, or whether they have no choice, whether they're living in this community or whether they would choose to live elsewhere, is problematic as such. No, thank you. We think it is a legitimate thing to give them that option. Secondly, does our policy achieve the goal we're trying to achieve? Namely, to give them the information, to give them the ability to make legitimate decisions. We think that, yes, we think it is straightforward, that lottery of birth is eliminated by this fact. We think that those people living in isolated communities, when given the chance to run Springa, will get the information there they need to decide whether they want to live still in their community or move elsewhere. The question today's side opposition might ask is, well, why only when they become 18? No, thank you. Aren't they indoctrinated before? Isn't the lottery of birth still present if we only let them out when they're 18? We say that is not a problem, because we think that only when you're 18, and yes, we agree this is an arbitrary age, we do it all the time, voting age, stuff like that. We don't think that's a problem. We think that only then are you able to assess the information that you get from the outside more rationally. We don't think that a 14-year-old who is much less developed intellectually as 4 years later, we don't think that his decision-making process is the same as it is after he's been there after 4 years. Before I go on, sir.
Can I be happy within the sphere of knowledge that I have, even
sure, you can be happy, but we don't think that is good for you. We don't think that being limited to this one option, even though it makes you happy, is a good thing. We think that if we give you the option to see the outer world and see that you'll be happier outside, we think it is a good thing we give you that option. And if you were happier in the community you lived in before, you still have the option to go back, right? So we don't see any problem with that. We think that happiness of the people will be only increased because of the reasons I've already explained, right? Now to the third question, is this necessary? Is it really necessary to breach the rights of the community in such a way? We say it is, because Rumspringa, the experience of Rumspringa is inherently different to any other experience you might have. We believe that an actual experience of seeing how outer society functions, no thank you, of seeing how people work, of seeing like electricity, for example, we think that is much different than seeing something on a video or reading about it in a book. We think that when you actually experience those things, there comes like this emotional sensory attachment to that, which is much stronger, or rather evokes much more real feelings about it, because you actually see how you would feel were you to live in those communities, and you don't get that real sense of what living in a community is if you only see it like they read about it in a book. Now the last question on the proportionality. We believe that a breach in communities' rights is not disproportional to the possibilities we give to an individual, because we are not disturbing the way those communities function, right, on a general level. They are still functioning as they would otherwise. We see that on the example of the Amish people, where their lifestyle is not altered in any manner whatsoever when people go on a Rumspringa. We also believe that if we give those people that chance, that people will still go back into those communities, again, as proven on the Amish example. And this again proves that a POI raised by opposition makes no sense, because if people see they were happier in their previous communities, they will go back. They are going back in the case of the Amish people. So we believe that the rights we are giving to an individual, by giving them information they need to make the decisions about their life, the most fundamental decisions about their life, is not disproportional to the breach in rights of the community. For all those reasons, Madam Speaker, we beg you to propose this motion.